What is going on, peasants? My name is JB and I'm back here today with yet another draft analysis for Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. This time we are going to be going over our draft for the UPBA, which is the league that is ran by my buddy Gray Eevee, and yeah, you should go check him out as well as all the other coaches down in the description below. The draft analysis should be going up today, so let's go ahead and get just right into this bad boy. First things first, this was a purely points-based draft. You had 120 budget. Mons range from 20 points all the way down to 1 point, and so on, like everything in between. You spend it however you want. I believe the minimum requirement for Pokemon was 10, so you could have had a 10 Mon team, but the max you could have was 11. I'm pretty sure. Either way, I just went with your standard 11 Mon team, as I like to be pretty standard. And speaking of standard, speaking of things that are just ordinary, this is a pretty I don't want to say ordinary team, but this is probably the most meta team I've ever drafted. I'll just go ahead and spoil that, and that is for one very glaring reason. For the first time in over 2.5 years of playing Pokemon Draft League, your boy was got lucky enough to have the #1 pick in the entire draft. And man, that has never happened, and I was really freaking happy. It was like I was looking through the list, like when they released the draft order. I was looking through it. I always start at the bottom when I get lists like that, because I don't know, I just like this, and I'm like, wait, where the heck am I? I'm like, oh, okay, usually, in the middle, not in the middle. Where am I not on this list? I got pinged. Where am I? And then I looked at the top of the list, and there was my name. I'm like, oh, hey, I have the #1 pick. Wow, that's really cool. So, with that being said, there were a few broken things allowed. Like there was Unium Z. Mew was something that was on my radar. Aegislash was allowed, which is something I thought about. Tapu Lele was allowed, but you couldn't have Z moves on it, and I also just got done using Lele in the PCL, and that was even fresher in my mind because the draft started, like, I believe maybe a week after PCL finals. But by the whole meta thing, I guess you could probably tell where I went with this #1 pick. I've never gotten to use this Pokemon in an actual draft league, so with the first pick of the UPBA Season 1, the Arkansas Razorwinds drafted Tapu Koko. So, like I said, very, very meta, very standard. But I've never gotten the opportunity to use Koko, and I jumped at the opportunity to go ahead and grab it. And yeah, it's just, what's there to say about Tapu Koko that isn't already known about it? If you play Draft League at all, you already know this is one of the absolute just best Pokemon, period, in Draft League format. A fantastic speed tier, base 130, so you already got one of them elite speed tiers, boy. I don't know why I slapped the hell out of my hands. Like, I don't know why I clapped like that. That was stupid. But Electric Surge is a great ability, putting up electric terrain, making this thing hit even harder with its stab, like thunderbolts. Like, it's got great offensive coverage as well. It can pivot with Volt Switch and U-turn. It can remove hazards. It can taunt. It can set screens. Tapu Koko can literally do basically anything except like Sword Stance, but it doesn't really need to because it's so fast and hits so hard. Just like it's a Koko, man. What else needs to be said about freaking Koko? So and of course this is also one of my Z users. The Z rules where you have a 25 point budget that is separate from the rest of your budget. So you can see Koko was 18 points, so 18 amount 25 points with making Koko a Z user, and I'm really excited to pull off some Mimi Koko. So it's like I just really want to make Z Mirror move work. Like I just really want to pull that off, man. I have to pull that off at least once. Also, something I want to note that I totally just glossed over. There are a lot of really cool coaches here, as you guys can see, like the logos. I've only ever played Tone here, so it's gonna be really cool to play a lot of people I've never played before. Got our boy John Jr. here, Dreadful Dragonite, who's in PCLD League, and just a few other people that I've seen around like mid and Storm, and yeah, just a lot of other people that should be really fun to play. And yeah, I'm excited about that as well. Forgot to mention that in the intro. But getting back to the draft, so unfortunately the dragon that I wanted to pair with Tapu Koko did unfortunately not make it to me, because of course, why would it, when there's 31 picks that have to make it back to me before I can pick again because, you know, snake draft, I have the one. I have to wait for everyone to pick. You guys know how drafts work. But with that being said, our next pick, I wanted to just go ahead and grab a good dragon. Like, there weren't many other dragons I wanted to pair with Koko, and I really didn't want to use this Pokemon, but it fits so well, and I want to give it a fair shot with like an actual team. The last time I used it was in UBLD League, so if you guys know what my dragon was in that league, you know what this pick is. But I decided to go ahead and grab Latios again. Latios did not fare too well on my UBL team, but let's be real, my UBLD League team was hot garbage. So I'm hoping to give Latios a much better shake, try, I guess, if you will, with a team that should actually be good. So Latios is another just great wall-breaking Pokemon, good speed tier, base 110. So got some really high speed tiers, got some really just potent offensive mons with the first two picks. Another vast move pool. It's not one of my Z users, unfortunately, because, you know, I can't afford that. 18 plus 16 does not equal 25, unfortunately, so can't do that. But yeah, Latios is a ton of fun, has a great move pool, and it provides a ground immunity for Koko, which was also something that I took into account. Like, I just use Koko, or I just use Latios, but it pairs really well with Koko type-wise. It gives me that start of that Fairy Dragon Steel Core. It gives me a ground immunity for Koko. It made too much sense, man. Koko resists dark. It doesn't like taking knockoffs, but it can if it needs to, especially if it's holding a Z Crystal. So, you know, it works. It should be really fun, really offensive core so far, really offensive team. So I want to go ahead and grab some bulk with our next pick. And this is a Pokemon that, if you will also remember back to my UBLD League run, that this was a Mon that I really wanted on that team, and it would have made that team not as bad because it would have actually given that team a defensive backbone. So I made sure I went ahead and got this Pokemon here, and that is Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is another Mon that I've wanted to use for a while. It's just a great defensive backbone that can pretty much just be slapped on any team and just live hits. It does have to rely on Aqua Berry sometimes and just Resist Berries, like in general, occasionally, but you know, it can function around them as well. It's got great defenses as well. It can just sponge hits for days. Can set hazards with rocks and spikes, and provided a you know, very solid Steel type to round out our Fairy Dragon Steel Core. Not really much else to say about this Mon, other than the fact that it, you know, it's rounds out our Fairy Dragon Steel Core. It gives me a great hazard Mon. Gives me Thunder Wave, which is nice to have. Really hard hitting Gyro Balls as well. Has a pretty fun offensive move pool. So I would not be surprised. You guys know me. I would not be surprised if I whip out like a banded Pharaoh at some point, because that thing can put in some work for sure. Also, why does this thing not get Earthquake, but freaking Ferroseed does, or not Ferroseed, Fortress? Why does this thing not get Earthquake but Fortress does? Come on, Game Freak. But yeah, that's Ferrothorn. Next up, I didn't initially want to do it, but I just decided to go ahead and do it because it was round 4 and it made it back to me, and I didn't want to risk someone else taking it. I was like, I don't want to do it, but I guess I'll go ahead and do it. So we, of course, went ahead and grabbed Koko-Lucha just to round out the Koko-Lucha core. Like I said, I didn't really want to, but I just decided to go ahead and do it because it's round 4. I was looking for something to fit in the speed tier between Koko and Latios, and I'm like, man, the Koko-Lucha fits exactly in that speed tier I need. It gives me another ground immunity, which helps with Koko. It gives me a fighting type, which you guys know I love to have my fighting types. And like, come on, man. I didn't want to do it because I wanted to try to like stray away from the meta just a little bit, but you know, when it's round 4 Lucha, man, like I'm just gonna go ahead and take the Lucha if it's there. For those of you who live under a rock and don't know why Koko-Lucha is so broken, because Koko-Lucha's ability Unburden allows it to run an item called Electric Seed, which will double Koko-Lucha's already incredible base 118 speed, and it'll basically be the fastest thing in existence. You can set up Swords Dances and can just click Acrobatics and kill all the freaking things pretty much without any real skill or any real like brain power to pull off. It's like, it's a brainless hyper offense, and it works. And it was round 4 Koko-Lucha, so I just went ahead and took it because, you know, it's Koko-Lucha. Yeah, there's not really much else to say about that. Next up is another Pokemon that I've always just tried to grab on teams. Like, it's whenever I'm planning out a draft, like when I get to like round 2 or whatever, round 3 or whatever in a draft, I'm like, okay, yeah, this one looks really cool here, and I would love to grab it. But unfortunately, it always gets taken. But since I do have a wheel pick, I can make sure it didn't get taken from me. So I wanted to find a good Flash Fire Mon for Ferrothorn to, you know, help pair with that, so I can get Flash Fire boosts if I need to, as well as just another solid defensive mon that can, you know, just sponge hits and be like a sort of pseudo backbone to a team. And so I just decided to grab Arcanine. We got ourselves a very, very good boy with Arcanine. Excuse me. Great defensive mon. Fire being, you know, a decent defensive typing. Speak to a few things, but you know, it can sponge a lot of neutral hits very well. Intimidate's a great ability. Flash Fire, like I said, is another great ability to help out with Ferrothorn. And it also has Justified, which can be useful if I really need to switch into a knockoff and I want to run like a weird offensive Arcanine, I can. So yeah, we got Arcanine here. It's a very good boy. It's a great fire type, can be run defensively, like I said, with like Morning Sun, Rocky Helmet, like a Will-O-Wisp thing. So it has a really fun offensive move pool as well. Access to extreme speed is always lovely. And yeah, just really fun mon. It's a mon that I've used a few times before, and I love it. So no reason not to grab it. Next up is another Pokemon that, like, legitimately, I don't know how this happened, boys. This is the least sniped I've ever gotten in a draft. So basically, if I put it on my plan, I pretty much ended up with it. And I don't know how I ended up with this mon in round 6, and that is Snorlax. Snorlax plus Arcanine plus Ferrothorn cover each other so freaking well. With Snorlax having access to immunity, which is nice just in general, meaning it can't be toxic. Thick Fat, of course, helping pair with Ferrothorn to take fire hits. And then Gluttony is a great ability as well. Snorlax is one of my favorite mons to use in the format, period. Snorlax is so fun. It can literally just win a game with the right set. Like, Cursax, of course, is just a broken mon with Recycle. And of course, Gluttony, you know, getting us 50% berries even more often because, you know how Gluttony works. Belly Drum Gluttony Lax is disgusting. Like, Snorlax is just incredible. If you slap an AV on it, it's never dying to any special hit ever. It already has a massive HP stat, like, and it's a Gen 1 normal type, so it gets pretty much any move ever. It gets Whirlwind even, like, I don't know why. Like, I was just scrolling through its move pool and, like, it gets Whirlwind. Who knew that? But yeah, Snorlax is, like I said, one of my absolute favorite mons to use in the format, period, and it pairs so freaking well defensively with Arcanine and Ferrothorn. And speaking of pairing well defensively with Ferrothorn and Arcanine, we're lacking a water type at this point. We're also lacking a ground type, so kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and we went ahead and picked up Swampert. Swampert, in my opinion, and in the opinions of people who helped me build, like Dai and Pat, is one of the most underrated water types in the format. It's just another mon that just takes it. Yeah, it's, you know, times 4 weak to grass, but look how many grass switch-ins I have on this team. I'm not worried about that at all. Like, I'm pretty sure everything on my team, aside from Coco and Lax, at this point resists grass. So, like, I'm not worried about that in the slightest. If I have to run a Rindo Berry, I can run a Rindo Berry. But this mon just has great bulk all around. Gives me a good Stealth Arc setter. Can click Scald, can click Earthquake. It has Roar. It's a great user of that move. And it's another thing that you can just slap a band on and, you know, you can just get some cheeky kills that way. But yeah, it's just a great defensive pivot. It just takes it and, yeah, it just fit the team perfectly. Like, the type synergy between, like, my defensive backbone to this point is ridiculously fun and cool. So next up, I wanted to grab a mon. I wanted T-Spikes on this team. I really like T-Spikes support with this squad, and having another, you know, fighting switch in to take a little bit of pressure off Coco, because Coco doesn't always like taking those hits. Latios isn't always taking huge fighting type hits. Koko-Lucha doesn't like taking any hit really. So we decided to go ahead and grab ourselves a ghost that also gets Toxic Spikes. You can see where we're going. We grab Cofagrigus, further making this defensive core just ridiculous. It's like, this isn't a stall team by any means, because I don't have like a lot of like active recovery. Like, not a lot of these mons get access to recover outside of like Arcanine, but this team just sponges hits, dude. It's so nice. Cofagrigus Mummy is a really fun ability that can you know, just really annoy things like Mega Medicham or just any mon that has like a broken ability. Just switch Cofagrigus into it and they no longer have that ability if it's, you know, a physical attacker. You guys know what I mean. But yeah, great bulk all around. 145 physical defense, ridiculous. 105 sprint def. Solid, not great HP, but it has, you know, access to Pain Split, Will-O-Wisp, T-Spikes like I already mentioned. It can set Trick Room, it can Calm Mind, it can Nasty Play, it has Knockoff, Memento, Magic Code. So many fun things wrapped up into a dead little bundle of deadness. So yeah, Cofagrigus should be a ton of fun to use. This is another mon I've used in like on leagues in the past that just fits this team so damn well. So moving on to our next pick, I wanted to try to get a little bit more removal and another relatively fast mon to sort of even out between Latios and like other base 100s. I don't really have a base 100 at this point, and I don't really end up getting one. So I got something a little bit above that as well. So with our next pick, we went ahead and grabbed Cryogonal. So Cryogonal provides me, like I said, that 105 base speed tier. It gives me a little bit more removal. It gives me another Levitate user, so I have another ground switch in. So Koko and Arcanine are very well covered in that regard. Yeah, it's just a really fun mon. A massive base 135 special attack stat, so, or special defense stat, excuse me. It's usable base 95 special attack, good HP as well. Like, this is one of those mons that a lot of these try-hard players like really talked up recently, and then it sort of fell off again. But I think it fits this team very well. Like I said, giving me a remover. I mean, yes, it's weak to rocks, but I mean, it's not weak to spikes. It's not weak to T-spikes. It can remove those, so it's not affected by webs either. So yeah, it's great at removing things that aren't stealth rocks. So yeah, in that regard. And freeze dry is a very spammable move. Ice in general is a very spammable type, and this thing has a pretty good special attack stat to boot, and it's relatively fast. Gets access to Aurora Veil, as well as I believe it gets Hail. Does it get Hail? It should get Hail. Yeah, it gets Hail plus Veil, so like I have to auto set Hail, but if I feel like I really need Veil for some reason, I can do that. And yeah, it's just a really fun mon, and yeah, like I said, it gives me another remover, taking pressure off Lottie and Lucha and Koko to not want to do that. Now, speaking of removal, and also you notice at this point I don't have a Mega Pokemon, so I also don't have a Dark type. So you see this guy over here? You see my logo over here? We went ahead and did the damn thing, boys. We are gonna go ahead and pick up Mega Absol to be our Mega for this team. This is another mon I've used in a Showdown League before, and it's just a really fun Pokemon. It's not the best thing in the world. It's super frail. It's gonna die to like pretty much any one hit. But if you can get this thing in and you can force something out and click Swords Dance, lots of things is dying. It has just a ridiculous base 150 physical attack, very usable base 115 special attack, and a really good speed tier, also a base 115. Give me, it's similar to Koko-Lucha in that regard, but I don't really care because this mon is just super fun. It gets magic balance to help prevent hazards, help prevent status. It gets stuff like Ice Beam and Flamethrower and Fire Blast to use that really good special attack. Priority Sucker Punches, super hard hitting knockoffs and super hard hitting pursuits. It can Baton Pass if you want to get weird. I believe it gets Wish. It does have access to Wish, like I said, if you want to get weird with it. Doesn't have the best HP, but it can if you need to, so yeah. Mega Absol, like I said, this is a mascot pick, boys. Fits this team relatively well, and it's going to be a ton of fun to use, and that's like basically what I went for it with that. And last, but certainly not least, we had 2 points left. I was debating between a grounded poison type like my boy Swallow. You guys know I love me some Swallow. Or I was unfortunately talked out of Swallow by cooler heads and smarter people than me, aka Dai and Lamar of all people, convinced me not to take Swallow. It feels bad, man. But instead they convinced me to pick up a mon that honestly should be a ton of fun, and that is Gothorita for 2 points. So this thing is pretty damn dumb. It does have access to the best ability in the game in Frisk, but that's not why this thing's cool. It's Shadow Tag, so we can trap things. We can trap stuff and just annoy the hell out of my opponent is basically all this thing will do. I don't expect it to come very often, but if it has a good matchup, this thing I could honestly see putting in a little bit of work. Really good bulk, honestly, for an EV user. 60 HP, 70 defense, and 85 speed F. Like, it's very usable. Decent special attack as well, so if we can like trap some mon that just can't deal with a psychic type and start Calm Minding, it might, be able to put in a lot of work. It gets basically everything Gothorita does. Like, it can actually Heal Bell too, which is something worth noting that it can do. If we have a really bad matchup against like T-Spikes or something or whatever, or just some super fat stall team, if we really need Heal Bell, it can do that. So like, I can trap something and Calm Mind and Heal Bell. I can do that sort of thing. But yeah, this mon should be fun. Like I said, I don't expect it to come often, but it can. It gets like, a lot of psychic type coverage, so it gets like T-Bolts, Energy Balls, stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, it probably won't come often, but when it does, hopefully it can put in some work. So that is going to be my team for the UPBA Season 1. Let me know what you think of this team. It's very meta for the most part until we get to like Mega Absol. It's a pretty damn meta standard team, but I really like this team and I think I'm gonna have a ton of fun with it. I'm gonna try to do a little bit of wacky things, you know, rounding out Ultra Sun and Moon, so hopefully we can get a little bit more crazy, or maybe we just go full on try hard and I try to get like my undefeated season. That's not gonna happen because I'm gonna get bored of that sort of playstyle almost immediately. But you know, maybe we can do some fun things with this squad, and definitely think this should be a good season for the Razorwinds. So with all that being said, be sure to go check out all the other coaches down in the description below, and I will see you all for week 1. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.